Hey, welcome. We're glad you're here. I'm Ray.
I'm Stefan.
And we're glad you're here at the table. A ministry of Front Street United Methodist, all our Front Street folks, we say, hey, all of our folks who maybe are part and not part of Front Street, we're delighted and humbled to have you along too, along with the guy behind the camera, Jay Helms. We're delighted to serve you. We're on this journey through Lent.
In fact, we're learning some words. We're practicing the way that Jesus talks. And so our Lenten acronym we've been working on for a couple of weeks now is that we are learning from Jesus, we are examining our language, we are nurturing words that give life, and we are talking in a way that gives you and the people around you opportunities to grow. So that's a bit of what we're doing. Now,
Lent.
At Front Street, one of the ways that we do that is with a word that we use, generosity. It's becoming more and more of a core identity of who we are. And so just as a bit of information for you, if you are not connected with us, if you just peruse these videos from time to time from outside, we have some wonderfully generous people that are at Front Street that allow this to happen. The opportunity for Ray and I to be creative, for Jay to be a part of that creative team, it happens because of the generosity of some wonderful, wonderful people. So I'll throw that as an invitation to you. If you would like to be generous in supporting the ministry that we're a part of, there's ways in which you can do that by giving online. There also is an opportunity for you to be generous in your button clicking on YouTube or Facebook to share this video, to like it, to comment on it. That makes a big difference.
I mean, that's part of our call. It's part of our discipleship is so we develop generosity from our core of being who we are as disciples in the living and the modeling of Jesus the Christ. So living the model of Jesus Christ, as we look at today at Front Street and probably many of your churches, we're going to be looking at the I am sayings.
Right.
Who said those?
Jesus.
Yeah, I hear that.
And God.
And God before Jesus.
Way back in Exodus.
God, before we thought of Trinity, we think Exodus. Even though Trinity was there, that's what we think. But way back in Exodus.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
God meets Moses in a moment of revelation and says, I am.
Yeah, because Moses says, well, who do I say, who are you?
Yeah.
And he says, the great I am.
What's being captured in that moment for Moses is this identity that is different, distinctual, and above and beyond, far above and beyond the understandings of idolatry and cultures in that society. That God is greater than all of those things. That starts all the way back at Exodus.
Which, let me just say, you almost have to understand that before you get to the person, the divinity, God in Jesus the Christ.
Yes.
To understand how the ancients, how the folks who would have been listening to Jesus at the time would have heard what he said.
Yes.
Which makes it bigger than sometimes I think we hear it.
It makes it bigger. I'm also going to say it makes it even more astounding, even more amazing, even more personal that the great I am, the God above all, the King above all, the Lord above all, would stoop so low to walk on this earth alongside us.
Yeah, and use earthly language, illusion, and I don't mean illusion as a magic trick, I'm talking about language, illusionary language.
Parables, like last week, we talked about that.
To express who the Christ is for us.
Right.
Because the ancients thought of the Messiah, the Christ, whatever your term might be, they would have said the Messiah in a way different way than Jesus understood Jesus' self, the way Jesus understood and as the Messiah was going to be here present in a way different way. I think they thought at that time a more loftily kingly way, we believe, but Jesus came to put his arm around you and me. They did not. That's a whole different world than they understood or expected. I think about when Jesus is riding on the donkey, which is a little bit down the road for Palm Sunday. It seems to me, as he is losing tears there, and people probably at first thought, well, he's just another one of those Messiah counterfeits, unless something happened soon thereafter. And I think it was soon thereafter that changed the trajectory, or we wouldn't be here today.
Isn't it amazing how much backstory there is for this moment, or these several moments of Jesus to claim I am? We're going to get into those in just a second, but as we're in this series of really evaluating, looking at, learning, and using the language of Jesus in our daily lives, it's important to see how much work, how much care, how much love, how much attention to history that Jesus gives to these particular moments. There is a lot that goes into that. It's deeper than you know. It's deeper than we know. We have seven different I am statements that show up, all in the Gospel of John.
As we were talking earlier, I'm trying to think, how would those Jewish folks heard Jesus' words? They would have immediately hearkened back to the same moment ago. They would hearken back to Moses and manna and providing the bread for them for sustenance, for life. And that was the great I am.
Right.
But here Jesus is saying something that is, I'm not sure we get when he says, I am the bread of life.
Yeah.
How do you see that?
In each of these, and it's the easiest to see in I am the bread of life, but I want to offer it at the beginning for this and say that it carries to the others, is that as Jesus is offering these I am statements, Jesus is claiming things about himself that he is offering to others.
Say that again.
So radically different than the society around him, where the predominant cultures of Greek mythology and Roman mythology and how they served and they worshiped the other gods, is that people had to make the offering to keep a positive relationship.
It was transactional.
It was transactional in that the people offered something to the idols.
And hoping.
And Jesus takes that and turns it right upside down in the very first I am statement. Jesus says, this is maybe a little transactional, but the point is, I am the one that's offering you.
Yeah, you're not offering to me.
Right.
I am offering and giving to you.
Yes.
The very thing that gives you life.
Yeah.
Period. And so the transaction is on your behalf.
Yes, on your benefit. Yeah.
On your benefit, on your behalf, not the other way around.
Right.
And it's not what you do.
Right.
It's what Jesus Christ, the Messiah, is doing for you.
Yes. The I ams are ways in which Jesus is identifying offerings, free places of love and grace, forgiveness, mercy, all of that to the people. So Jesus says, I am the bread of life. Jesus says, I am the light of the world. I am the gate of the sheep. I'm the good shepherd. I am the way, the truth, and the life. Jesus says, I am the true vine. Jesus says, I am the resurrection and the life. Those are the 7 I am statements. I think there's more that we can take from this as well. In fact, let's walk over here a second, because there's an illustration that I think is helpful. In fact, these I am statements, if we go as far as we can into them as human beings, I think what we'll learn something is that the more that we learn about Jesus, when Jesus says, I am the bread of life, I am the light of the world, I am the resurrection of life, all of these things.
But I'm going to interrupt. So Jesus wasn't saying those things to say, this is all I am.
No, that is not an all-encompassing picture. It's not just those 7. It's not limited to. Jesus is using broken pieces of our human language to try and give illustrations to us.
And there are gaps.
There are gaps, absolutely.
And but also, if I hear you right, he's wanting us to understand the reflection of who he is.
Yes.
And the reflection of who we are.
There it is. If we are aware of who Jesus is, the identity that Jesus holds, that helps us identify who we are.
So hold up. So what you're saying is, as I learn more deeply, more broadly, more thoroughly who Jesus is, it's then I begin understanding even who I am.
100%.
More deeply, more broadly.
Yeah.
That's profound.
As the more we learn that Jesus is Savior, the more we should identify that we are saved. The more that we see that God is a lover, the more that we should know that we are loved.
That is really profound in that it makes me think, how do I say this? It makes me think more of me in a gift way.
Yes.
rather than a self-image way. Does that make any sense?
That's exactly how Jesus wants it. Jesus is setting up these I am statements for us to realize our own great part of this picture.
That is profound, because I think most of us, I'm maybe speaking for most of us, see those I am statements of Jesus just telling us who he is.
Yeah.
And indeed he is.
Right.
But there's a level here, he ain't finished.
When we love and serve a God who chooses over and over again, time and time again, to not fix humanity without humanity's help, without humanity being a part of it, without the world being a part of that creative narrative of life, that we understand that we are so vital and important.
And I think one way we might be getting at this, maybe it'll hit you or not. I get more joy out of giving my kids, getting the staff that I work with, opportunities and things that they can glow and grow. And when I see that, that gives me more joy.
Yeah.
And more, I don't know what it is. There's like an adrenaline.
Yeah.
Even the fact when I see you on camera and I'm not there, I'm much more proud of that than when I'm there. I mean, there's just something about that when you see what's happening in others, it takes my breath away. And I think about God, how God in Jesus the Christ, it has to be times a million. And the thing that, knowing that Jesus the Christ could do all of this by him, Jesus the Christ could end all hunger in a moment. He could end all, you name it, but chooses to work with us because relationship is more important than Jesus doing.
Oh, man. All right, so there's a question that Jesus asked the disciples, and I think the question is for us as well. Jesus looked at some of the disciples and he asks, who do you say that I am?
Oh, man.
And why I think that question is so important is Jesus already knows who Jesus is. Jesus wants you to understand your relationship. Jesus wants you to understand where you fit into this picture. Though we may have some broken language, a little bit of a broken understanding of what that looks like, we're working on it. We're working on bringing those pieces together. So maybe you wonder about it this week. Who do you say that Jesus is? Who are you? We'll see you next week.
When it shines a light, whenever God shines his light on you.